welcome back. I'm not even sure what just happened because on my screen that was really messed up. Who knows how it went through on YouTube? But welcome back. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. This is the Yankee and the Brits Thursday or Monday night pregame. See, I'm almost like jumping ahead to next week because Maddie and I didn't have the greatest weeks in football.
Not even thinking about it anymore.
Well, before we get to the depressing days that our teams had, we'll start with some other teams, and we'll start over across the pond, as they say. Was that at Tottenham Stadium too?
That would have been at Tottenham. Yeah, the first one was in Wembley.
Hey, by the way, my British and Australian accents sound exactly the same, so I'm no good at accents.
That means you're Cockney. So the Australian accent is just an East London accent.
Okay.
There's also historical reasons for that. It's fun. It's because Australia was a convict colony for the UK. So basically, found Australia, send them. If you go to prison for a long time in the UK, we just deport you to Australia and you just live over there on the other side of the world. You're not our problem anymore. And most of the prisoners at the time came from East London and sounded Cockney. So the Australian accent is just the Cockney accent, just on the other side of the world.
I'm good with it because Patty the Batty from USC, Pemberton. I don't fucking remember his last
Pemberton.
name. Yeah. I like that dude. He's the only dude I know that drops like 80 pounds for a fight and still wins. Like this dude gets so fat after a fight and then comes in and fights at weight. I'm like, dude, I don't know how this crazy fucker does it. And what I like about him is every time he's doing an interview, not only does he have that deep, like you said, Cockney accent.
No, he's Scouse. Paddy the Buddy's Scouse. Yeah.
He's eating while he's talking, which makes it harder to even understand. I love that fucking guy. And yeah, I don't know if you ever saw the video where he rings that lady's doorbell and she has a ring and he has to apologize for his dog taking a big shite.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome video. Awesome video.
Yeah. There are two accents that are absolutely impossible to understand, even if you're like from the UK. And it's when both of these accents are drunk, like they're impossible. So Scousers, when they're pissed, can't understand anything they say. That's people from Liverpool, if you don't know what a Scouser is. And people from Glasgow, Glaswegians, when they're drunk, which is all the time. So you can't hear a word they say either. They're impossible. And a really intense Northern Irish accent as well. Like people from Belfast, they're quite difficult too.
All right. We're going to talk the Jags, the Bills. I forgot to pick the fucking game, so I quick went on Instagram the night before and made my pick. Picked the fucking Jags and then almost thought about going to delete that post and taking the Bills. Here's the funny thing. But people had already responded to my post, so I felt like I was kind of wrong to switch my pick. So I just kept it and was going to live with it, and it ended up helping me win. So I'll take it.
Yeah, we're too big on Instagram now for you to post stuff and take it down. Like, with 50,000 followers over on Instagram, which means
51 as of today.
51,000, Jesus, growing by the second. So everybody make sure to go follow us on Instagram, and we'll start doing more Instagram lives and stuff like that because we're too big. So they're going to catch you anyway. So you've got to go with your first pick, Jay, from now on. And you were lucky that you did.
I did, and it helped me out. I was a little brutal to Cowboys fans today, but on ours, but I was just being funny.
Luckily for me.
David, thank you. Shout out. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that subscribe if you haven't already. We appreciate the support. So
luckily for me, I was it 6 a.m. Thailand time, 4 or 5 a.m. when we did the show. So I fell asleep and didn't pick, which is good for me because I would have picked the Bills. Because I think this is a pretty big upset.
9-5 this week, if anybody's wondering what my record is going. So 9-5, that's where I am this week.
Just killing it all yet.
I did take the Packers over the Raiders. I believe Maddie did also on Sunday.
Yeah. I'm going to stick with it.
If you want to change your pick, it's cool because the game hasn't kicked off.
I'm going to take the Pack, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. The Raiders have given me nothing.
As a Vikings fan, it kind of chaps my ass to take the Packers, but you know me. I got accused of being a Packer fan a lot last year, closet, because of my defense of Aaron Rodgers and how good I think Aaron Jones actually is.
Yeah, I think that they're both fair points. You're allowed to compliment people, but now the Raiders just haven't shown me anything. I'm sure we'll talk about it a bit at the end of the show when we move on.
And I've said this before. I always liked Jordan Love, but now that he's a Packer, I kind of don't hope he turns out to what I thought he would be.
And I think we're on that kind of wavelength where he's not.
Yeah, and I don't want to hate on young kids. It's this weird thing where I, in fun, hate the Packers, right? Because it's sports. Nothing's that serious where it's true hate. But I don't want to see them have a third Hall of Fame quarterback in a row. That shit's been rough for me for 30 years, bro. I don't need that anymore.
Yeah. I like with American football that in sports, it's all like kind of fun hate. Really, we're talking about football in the UK, that shit is hardcore. And I hate the Eagles, by the way. Still just putting that out there. Yeah, Jordan Love, I'm hoping obviously he doesn't become the third great QB, and I don't think he's going to be doing that anyway, so that's good.
And the Packers did us a favor because I was hoping the Vikings would draft him and they didn't, so maybe that's a good thing. I don't know.
I wouldn't say he's that bad to use a draft pick on. What they've done though is use that draft pick and pissed off Aaron Rodgers, and now he's left, but now he's not playing. So yeah.
So what happened in London, man? What happened? Are the Jags that good, or did the Bills shit the bed?
I think, and this is classic Yankee in the Brit, we're not for everybody who's watching us new because you've found us on Instagram and you've come over here. We're not a shouty talking head thing where we go one way or the other depending on what likes are going this week. We're very middle of the road, and what I'm about to say is very classic Yankee in the Brit. It's a bit of both. The Jags have been terrible so far this year, and they played really well and showed us a bit of what we thought the Jags were going to be. They have a decent defense. They have Calvin Ridley, who had a great game, and they have a guy who has potential to be an all-time great quarterback in Trevor Lawrence.
We got to say this again, though. Was Calvin Ridley not the most underrated move for a suspended guy ever in the history of the NFL, maybe?
Yeah, I think if he wasn't suspended at the time, then all of sports media would have been going crazy about it the entire time. But because he was suspended, it was kind of it was on the sly. And because it was to Jacksonville as well, everybody was thinking, because it was the season before last. So everybody was like, oh, Jacksonville, they're not really that, all of that kind of stuff. But now you look at their wide receiver room and you think, this could be up there with one of the best in the league. But also the Bills, who I don't think are as good as their past two games, because we've got to remember they lost against the Jets, who were playing Zach Wilson, but also playing Zach Wilson when Aaron Rodgers was meant to be playing. So Zach Wilson with no preparation. And Josh Allen has the potential and always has to lose you a football game, which is exactly what you don't want from a QB. So I think the Bills, this is more in line with what the Bills are, and it's more in line with what the Jags are. And they were just playing polar opposites until this point. And also, I think the Jags, their familiarity with London, staying there a week, very helpful for them as well.
And you know me, I like the Jags, what they're doing. I like Doug Peterson as the head coach. I like Trevor Lawrence. I think he still does some boneheaded shit at times, but he's still relatively young when it comes to the NFL, and he can really spin the ball. And ETN is a monster. People don't give that dude the credit he deserves, because I watched him break some plays in that game where a lot of running backs wouldn't have seen the hole or made it to the hole before it closed.
Yeah, and there's also yes, I really like him, but I also really like James Cook as well. But James Cook only rushed for he's -4 points in fantasy this week.
James Cook is better than I thought he was going to be, because after last year, and I had him on my fantasy team hoping that take off, and he never did. I gave up on him, but this year he's impressed me a little bit.
Yeah, James Cook went for -4 yards at an average of -0.8 a carry. He only had 5 carries in the game. And I think this is where the Bills were different and going back to the old Bills. So their play calling so heavily leaned on the pass and they abandoned the run so early. You really maximize Josh Allen's skill level if you can run any play action. Any play action, that means you can get downfield plays on Stephon Diggs with Josh Allen's rocket arm, and they have to bring a safety into the box to stop your run game, means that Josh Allen will have less chance of throwing interceptions. He'll have more chance of getting those big plays, which is what kind of Josh Allen yearns for. If he's not got a big play in a while, he's going to try and make a big play happen out of nowhere. And the fact that they abandoned the run so early in their run game means that the Jags could just kind of sit on their pass game, and that's never good for the Bills because then that's where you get Josh Allen doing Josh Allen things. All that being said, he only threw 1 interception, to be fair to him.
Well, the big thing of the game.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
In a game which ended 20-25, the Bills still had 359 passing yards and 388 total yards, and the Jags had 474
the difference
total yards
is the running
well.
game. That was your point was right, because Stephon Diggs and Ridley had 1 yard difference and 1 reception difference. I think it was 7 for Ridley for 122, 8 for Diggs for 121. Both quarterbacks threw for over 300 yards. I think both quarterbacks had a pick. To look here quick. Yeah. Or no, Lawrence didn't have a pick. Sorry. But ETN ran for 136 yards and 2 touchdowns, which I think was the difference in the game.
Yeah, an average of 5.2 a carry. If you can average 5.2 a carry for your running back, then you're controlling that game. I think one of the most underrated stats in games like this, where it's a close game, is time of possession. The Jags had the ball for 15 minutes longer than the Bills.
Wow.
The Jags time of possession, 38 minutes, and the Bills time of possession, 21 minutes, and close to 22 minutes. So they had the ball 50 minutes longer. The Jags got 29 first downs to the Bills 18. First down efficiency rating of 10 and 18 compared to 5 and 12. And this is the real killer. The Jags ran a total of 82 plays to the Bills 54. Like, how do you win games when you're being that dominated in terms of not seeing the ball, not having any possession?
Cheerio, Ryan. Thanks for tuning in. Ryan's always on the MMA shows. This motherfucker knows MMA. I really enjoy him in the comments, so shout out to Ryan. And he's our resident matchmaker for Street Beefs. Matches that will never get made but should. That's Ryan.
Right, okay. Got you. I was thinking like dating coach in Street Beefs. That can't be right. That's not what it's about.
No, but he'll come up with good matchups that we'll probably never see in the comments. And he's always trying to put Sam K in a fight with Buddy V.
Or like the Canadian and sound fantasy football thought. A match that will never happen.
I hate to go off on a left field, but did you see the trade I just got?
Yeah, ridiculous, man. Like after the trade that I offered him up, and your shit is the trade he's picking up.
What did I tell you a week ago? I will get Brandon Ayuk off the Canadian. I got Brandon Ayuk and Christian Kirk for Romeo Doubs and Justice Hill.
It's just not fair.
After the league better watch out.
We went through this.
I might be 2-3 right now, but I'm coming back, baby. I'm coming back. I got my ass whipped this week because of Anthony Richardson, though.
Yeah, I took my first L because of just Tyreek. One Tua Tagovailoa throw to Tyreek Hill just ended my fantasy game this week.
So Are you in the belief that okay, I don't know how to word this without it sounding too awful. I love you, Bills Mafia. Are the Bills overrated?
Going into this week, yeah, they were. Because I think everybody was feeding off the win against the Dolphins, which was great win, but that's the best of Bills ball is
And
that
that's
win
a
against the
divisional game.
Dolphins.
That happens.
Yeah. Divisional game. And that is the best of the Buffalo Bills, that game against the Dolphins. And if they play like that every time, they probably are the best team in the AFC.
Okay, and I
Fair
know
to
I
say.
give him a hard time, but Josh Allen makes bad plays at bad times.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, he's an amazing talent and he's a really good quarterback. It's just the fact that he gets that elite status when he does stuff that other quarterbacks get killed for is what bothers me.
Yeah, yes. And also there's the fact that they see themselves as this team that need to they see themselves as this team that, oh, we need to be passing the ball, big plays downfield, but they run away from the rush game so much. In that game against the Dolphins, they ran for 104 yards. You know, they had 30 minutes in times of possession to the Dolphins 29. Like, you need to, they always, when they're losing is when they just go, Josh Allen, go for it. That was the difference with them this year that made them look like the best team in the AFC. The fact that they have a run game, they abandon the run game so early. They don't control any time of possession. And then they freak out as well because they're not getting any time of possession. So they run away from the run game. But it's like you only lost the game by 5 points. Like if you just took some more time establishing the run and built the clock and stuff like that, you probably would have won the game. And they didn't do that.
Do you think it's coaching? Do you think it's time for a new coach? Do you think McDermott's done there? Or do you think it's just they don't have enough talent like to win these games? What do you think it is?
I think like they have the talent to win the games. I don't think they're as talented as a whole roster as people think they are. Like when you look at the 49ers and you look at the Eagles and some of the super teams that are getting built in the NFC, and then you look at the offense that the Dolphins had. If you put Josh Allen in the offense that the Dolphins had, not to fucking shot onto it because he's excellent as well, but if you put Josh Allen in that offense with those weapons, you go, oh my God. But then you also think Josh Allen has Stephon Diggs. But I think it's the balance of where they go. They I don't know whether it is coaching, and it's definitely not Sean McDermott, but it may be time to have a reevaluation at the coach position. And that doesn't mean sack everybody. It just means your offensive philosophy needs to be a bit more complimentary. Run the fucking ball, and then we'll be able to. Then Josh Allen gets play action, and we get time of possession, and he doesn't need to come out and make those massive plays because they're controlling the clock.
And why they haven't went after a fucking like big running back in any of not big like doesn't have to be big pay, but like a better running back in the draft or in free agency. I don't know. You can never have too many good running backs. And if you could give somebody next to Cook, that would really help that team.
I think James Cook is good enough to carry the load of RB1. Like he's shown enough, I think, in the same way that he's shown enough at the start of this season when he's been given the opportunity. In the same way that Pacheco is an excellent running back one as well that they found late in the draft in Kansas City. They also have Latavius Murray backing up James Cook. So I don't even necessarily think it's the running back room entirely. Like, yes, could they have gone for another running back in the draft and have two young running backs there? 100%. But they just don't seem to put any value in that position or way of playing the game. And it's like the games that you've won well, you've rushed for over 100 yards. So why do you not think that that's the way to play the game?
And I know they're from there, but the games just get a little more difficult as colder as it gets, even if it's your, stadium. Like weather becomes a factor and different things. And so running games becomes even more important as the season goes on in Buffalo. And you're right. I don't think they value it as much. And I still think you kind of have a disgruntled Stephon Diggs there.
Yeah, he's fine when they're looking like the best team in the AFC. Just a reminder that currently the team that is seen as the best team in the AFC is currently now 3-2. Just having lost to the Zach Wilson Jets and now the Jacksonville Jaguars. So maybe they're not the best team in the AFC. Or the AFC is more even than we think.
If you ask me, it's still Kansas City, but we'll get to that and how they're still beatable later on.
Yeah. This AFC isn't as top heavy as isn't as crazy as everybody thinks it is, by the way. Like, because they've got all the good quarterbacks. Well, we're looking more and more that defenses are now sorting out quarterback play, so we can do a lot.
Well, I have a question for you that we can use as a callback later. Who do you right now think the best team in the NFL is as of week 5?
The San Francisco 49ers.
Me too. So we'll get a call back to that later on. But I want to make sure we are on the same page. And like Maddie said, for anybody who's watching, we disagree. Don't get me wrong. And we've had some good back and forth before, especially over like Justin Fields or different things. But we're not Skip Bayless or Stephen A.
Yeah, we're pretty level. We're pretty level throughout the year with our criticism. We never get too high, never get too low.
And we'll both actually change our mind. I absolutely did a 180 on Anthony Richardson on Sunday morning, and then he gets hurt with a shoulder.
Which I just want to say that I did say Anthony Richardson as a running quarterback has already been injured with a concussion. Like, does that not worry you a little bit?
It does. I was just praising that he's a better thrower than I thought. Like, I'm not saying he's great, but he's a better thrower than I thought. Like, so I want to be honest. Like, as much as I crush guys, I don't ever want to be the guy who they're like, oh, he's just going to shit on people and he'll never change his mind. Because I do change my mind. And Anthony Richardson is one of those guys that I think actually might be a diamond in the rough going in the future for the Colts.
Do you want to take 2 minutes on that game? Like, are the Colts actually good, or are the Titans kind of where we thought they were and not great? And does Gardner Minshew make the Colts better this year than Anthony Richardson does?
Take out the Gardner Minshew question. I'll answer the first one first about the Titans. Yes. Both things are true. The Colts are better than I thought. The Titans probably are, one of those teams that could beat you any Sunday, but could get beat by you any Sunday.
Is Derrick Henry still one of the best running backs in the NFL?
Well, he's definitely still a top 10 running back in the NFL.
Yeah, top 10.
How high are we going? I don't know,
Yeah.
But he's still King Henry. But people think he's this power back, and he's never been this power back. He's more of a huge scat back.
Yeah, and also Spears looks more electric coming out of that backfield. Well, he did this week. I think we're at the point, not to the same extent. It's a comparison more than this is exactly what's happening. We're where Zeke and Tony Pollard were about 2 years ago. For me, the Tennessee Titans offense, where you're looking at it and you're like, oh, okay, we're starting to move towards this handover into the younger running back. For me.
The Titans were going to try to get rid of him in this offseason. So there has to be something that they're seeing like more than us too, right?
Yeah. Because you have like, it is that thing of like, you can't be that big bodied, not a power back, and have to be taken out. He gets taken out of the game in every passing play. So most of the time he's out. If it's a passing play, Spears is in the game rather than Henry.
All right. I was just
at this point
looking up their stats right now. And I mean, Gardner Minshew threw for 155. Tannehill threw for 264, but he threw an interception. And I think, if I'm correct, Richardson had 99 yards before he went out.
Yeah.
But here it comes down to it again. Let's look at this. Now, D-Hop went off receiving, but Zach Moss, 23 carries, 165 yards, 2 tuds. The running game is important, and people think, oh, it's a passing league. We don't need a running game anymore, and running backs are so devalued, which they are. But it's like, really? Really, this is if you look at the stats, running matters.
It's still to win games across an entire season, the most reliable way to do that is to be solid at running the ball. The reason that the Cowboys have, for God's sake, literally as soon as I mention the word Cowboys, this comes up straight away.
Well, look at the name, bro. And I just know him from the chats, but he's from California, so it makes sense that,
the reason that the Cowboys have been good in the regular season, the reason that the 49ers are excellent, the reason that the Eagles have been so excellent in the NFC, I'd say that the NFC shows it's a running league still, is because that you've got that solid run game, that solid defense, and then you're able to control things like time of possession. You're able to control your passing game becomes a lot easier because the box is so filled trying to stop bloody Christian McCaffrey that then Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle are just free, like out the back and those kind of things as well.
Think about this. This is crazy. That was the first game this year that Kittle scored a touchdown.
Yeah, and he goes for 3 for the first time in his career as well. It's exactly what the 49ers do. Just to compare that and where we are with, like, Derrick Henry had 13 carries for 43 yards. And as a whole, the Titans ran for like 100 yards as a whole team. So the Titans still found a way to run the ball, just not as effectively, with Zach Moss carrying for 7.2 on average, which just means you control the ball entirely.
And they just got the contract done with Jonathan Taylor, so he should be moving forward with that team. The Colts fans have a lot to be excited about moving forward.
In a season where we thought they wouldn't, and because of the division that they're in, they could win this division pretty easily. And the Colts have the same record as the best team in the AFC, apparently. They're 3-2, same as the Bills.
Well, okay, it's the Chiefs. We don't have the team in the AFC, but moving on to another game, the one question I have is Belichick's job in trouble?
It's so difficult because the answer should be yes. Like, the answer should 100% be yes. If this was any other coach, would be like mid-season firing. Like, just a reminder that Bill Belichick is the reason that he's a head coach is because he's a defensive guy, right? It's in the same way as why we're so surprised that Brandon Staley has a job, because Brandon Staley's defense is horrific. So why does he still have a job? The Patriots lost 34-0. So on the face of it, you go, holy shit, Bill Belichick's defense has been taken for 34 points, and on top of that, his offense has scored nothing. The problem with that analysis is most of the Saints' points are scored on offense are on the Patriots. Are on the Patriots' offensive plays. Their offense is so stale and stagnated, and I don't want to blame this on Mac Jones. I don't really want to blame this on Bill O'Brien. It is years and years of neglect. I know. I've seen it. Cheers, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate
it. He ain't lying today. He ain't lying today.
Yeah. Belichick blows would be more on this. It's easy to lay fingers at Mac Jones, who only threw for 110 yards, I think, and Bill O'Brien because it's his offense. But it's years and years of neglect. It's like when a politician comes out screaming and shouting, saying, "Oh, that person is." It's like a Republican politician coming out and saying, like, "Oh, our system is broken because of the Democrats. Our system is broken because of the Democrats," when the Republicans have been in charge for the past 4 years and the Democrats have only been in charge for 1. That's what Patriots fans and Patriots fans who still kiss Bill Belichick's ass but want to see the end of Mac Jones and Bill O'Brien. That's what it's like. Bill Belichick has neglected the offense for so long that is currently unfixable.
How do you win a game when your top rusher has 8 carries for 24 yards?
It completely neglects everything that we've just said. for the past 2 games. But you do that by getting turnovers. Like Mac Jones threw 2 interceptions. What's the total turnover count? Bailey Zappi comes back in
is
again.
Mac Jones out of there after this year?
Interceptions to fumbles last. Yeah, so a total of 3 turnovers in that game. Mac Jones is again a difficult one because if the dice falls a different way, Mac Jones is currently a 49er and Trey Lance is in New England.
I don't hate him or anything, and I like listening to him, but I don't agree with Dan Orlovsky all the time. But he just made a comment, I think it was today. If Mac Jones was in San Francisco, he'd be doing the same thing Brock Purdy's doing right now. I don't know if I believe that.
I think he's closer to Brock Purdy in the 49ers than he is to current Mac Jones.
I think it's a disservice to Brock Purdy.
100%. I don't think he's unbeaten in the regular season or anything, or dismantling one of the best defenses in the NFL. I'm not sure whether that's it, but I still think the 49ers are winning most ball games, and probably because of the way that the crossover happens. They would have had one less year of Jimmy G. They could have been in the Super Bowl last season or the season before with Mac Jones.
Well, I'm a firm believer in Eagles fans can get mad. They're in the Super Bowl last year if Brock Purdy doesn't get hurt.
Very true. And the year before, they could have had Mac Jones instead of Jimmy G as well. And I think they're probably a bit better with Mac Jones. That's no slate on Jimmy G necessarily. It's just I do like Mac Jones, and I think in the right space, he's in the right space. Mac Jones is an excellent, at least top 15 quarterback in the NFL. So if he was a 49er, we wouldn't be having this conversation. It's difficult to blame the quarterback when your wide receiver room is an old Devontae Parker, and who is their lead receiver in this game? Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah, Kendrick Bourne, 2 receptions, 43 yards.
Yeah. So their screenplays probably.
But neither of the teams no offense lit this game on fire, because Carr went for 18 for 26, 183, 2 tuds. Kamara, 22 carries for 80 yards, 1 tud. Michael Thomas, 4 receptions, 65 yards. Nobody lit the world on fire, and it was a 34-0 game.
Yeah, again, the Saints didn't have to light the world on fire because their defense scored enough points to start with, and the Patriots' number one wide receiver is Juju Smith-Schuster, so you don't have to move the ball an effective clip.
You love to beat home that Juju point. You just love to bring that in. I know.
It's just when your wide receiver 1 is Juju Smith-Schuster is an excellent wide receiver 2 or 3, but if he's your wide receiver 1, you cannot blame the quarterback and the offensive coordinator for having a stagnant and shit offense.
That's fair.
Because your wide receivers are stagnant.
All right.
It's not the same as it's what people would mention now Bill O'Brien in the same vein as Matt Canada. And Matt, if the Patriots had George Pickens, this could look totally different.
So another game is everybody's talking about, and everybody's like, oh, look at how good the Lions are. They beat the shitty Panthers by 42-24. Like, you were playing the fucking Panthers, and everything that could go wrong did go wrong with the Panthers too. But the Lions are a decent team. It's just I'm so sick of hearing the Super Bowl and they're the fucking best team in the NFL, and maybe I should just let Lions fans have their day because it's all going to blow up in their face at some point this year.
Yeah, I mean, if you hadn't won anything for 40, if you haven't won anything for 40 years, it's easy to get carried away when you have a decent team. I saw something absolutely horrific. Oh, did I send it to you or not? Let me
I
see.
don't think so.
Man. Yeah, sorry. I'll see if I can find it. I'll see if I can find it and then send it to you so we can talk about it and you can put it on the screen. But I think the Lions are an excellent football team. I think they're very well put together. I think they're one of the top 5 teams in the NFC in what is a very top-heavy NFC. Remember, so there's probably now after the Cowboys game, there are 2 excellent, unbelievable teams in the NFC, and then there's the next tier down, which is Cowboys, Rams, Lions, that kind of area.
Well, they're going to lose next week, but we'll talk. We don't have to talk about that now.
Yeah, I think they have a great run game. And they did this without Amon-Ra St. Brown, remember, and Jared Goff is showing why he's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
Well, they're going to have to pay him. If they don't, they're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, if they don't, then they're doing that on things like media biased and on the fans. And in which case, as soon as your GM does that, it's time for the GM to go.
Montgomery had what 100 and I gotta go back and look what he had 109 on the day. Again, we're coming back to the teams with the better running game seem to have better success.
Yeah. Also, like just putting it out there, yes, the Lions got 42 points and went into prevent rather than aggression on the defensive side of the ball. But the Panthers scored 24 points. Bryce Young looked okay, and Adam Thielen is a hell of a pickup for them. Like, Adam Thielen is looking good. Went for 107 yards off 11 receptions. But yeah, David Montgomery looks like a great pickup for the Lions. Was Hines injured on that game?
Look at us both looking now too. Like
yeah,
we're both just looking at stats now.
Underprepared. But Craig Reynolds becomes Craig Reynolds is their second running back with 42 yards and a touchdown. A guy that I let go into fucking free agency on my fantasy team this week, which is great again for me. And even Goff managed to rush for a touchdown as well, off 2 carries. But yeah, Montgomery also had 20 yards catching out of the backfield. Sam Laporta looks real as well. Josh Reynolds takes up some of the slack on without Amon-Ra St. Brown. The Lions go to 4-1. And I think they're a really solid team. The hideous thing that I saw was, and I can't find it on here, which is upsetting because it is bad. And I should have sent it to you in the moment. Best coaches in the NFL, the coach rankings in the NFL. And you'll never guess who was at the top. It's Dan Campbell.
You can do the rest of the show by yourself. I'm leaving.
888 Sport. 888 Sport were ranking Dan Campbell.
Hey man, you know the best coach in the league, man? That's fucking Dan Campbell, man. Like fucking man.
I like Dan Campbell, and I think he's a culture creator more than he is a decent coach.
I'd like to go out and have a beer with Dan Campbell. I would fucking quit if he was my coach.
He's created a fantastic culture compared to where the Lions were before.
Oh, he just rubbed me the wrong way. Fuck.
Yeah, the fact that Sean McVay was ranked 6th on that list is absolutely criminal.
All right. Well, let's talk about a game that probably nobody gives a shit about, but maybe Ghost. Texans at the Falcons. Thank goodness for the point spread because that saved me. That kind of bit Maddie in the ass.
I can't believe that the Texans let that game go. But then I remember that they were the Texans.
Too. I agree with that too.
CJ Stroud did everything he had to do in that game. All they had to do was How long did the bear in mind the Falcons quarterback is Desmond Ridder, and the only
28
way
to
they do
37
anything,
to 329 and a tutty for Ritter.
yeah. So how do you let that happen? But being that their quarterback is Desmond Ridder and their entire offense is predicated on the run game, how with around less than a minute to go, do you let them get into field goal range to kick the game-winning touchdown? Is beyond me. It's terrible. They fell asleep in the fourth quarter. The Texans defense. Well, the Texans defense went all very Texans, even though they held. Also, Kyle Pitts finally comes out and looks like it's almost like they realize we have Kyle Pitts and Drake London. Let's just throw the ball up there and see what happens. And it worked. And I'm surprised it's taken this long. Kyle Pitts gets 87 yards, Drake London 76 yards, whilst Bijan Robinson was only able to run for 46 yards.
And the Texans defense is just going to get better with DeMeco Ryans as their head coach.
Yeah. AAA had him ranked as the third best coach in the NFL in DeMeco Ryans, which I don't hate. But yeah, they're a defense that they basically sold out to stop the run, which is what you do against the Falcons, but then they don't have good enough cornerbacks to go man-to-man whilst selling out to stop the run. They don't have good enough cornerbacks to stop a Drake London and a Kyle Pitts in man-to-man, is what that looked like to me. And the Falcons realize that they have Kyle Pitts and Drake London.
I don't disagree. All right, so are the Bengals back?
No. I think is a good way to
Burrow
put this.
Looked like Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow's calf is back. But let's remember that they did this against the Cardinals and they needed to score 10 points in the fourth quarter to the Cardinals were still in it until the fourth quarter. And the Cardinals are definitely better than what we thought.
There's a team that somebody keeps saying has one of the best defenses in the NFL that lost to the Cardinals.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, but I think the Cowboys are trash. No, the Cardinals are definitely better than we thought. Like, don't get me wrong.
Are they
the
better
Cowboys fell asleep
Kyler? Is the question. I don't know if we have the answer, but that's the question.
No. Are they better without expectation? Possibly.
And there's all over the internet, like from ESPN and Sports Illustrated and different articles that they're ready to move on from Kyler.
Well, I would move on from Kyler if I was them. It's clearly not a good fit, and Josh Dobbs is doing everything right. So why would you not move on from Kyler?
So what do you get for Kyler? What do you think the trade value is for?
It depends. Like, who needs a Kyler Murray right now? If Kyler Murray's healthy, do the Jets want him? Okay, the Vikings, but the Vikings, will he not be sitting a backup, or are you getting rid of Kirk Cousins there?
Well, if you bring him in next year, then you let Cousins walk.
Okay. There's like a few teams that Kyler Murray makes. Oh, sorry, 6 a.m. There's a few teams that Kyler Murray makes instantly better. As long as he's healthy.
I don't know if he's better than Cousins, but I know he's younger. And with Kevin O'Connell, Kevin O'Connell I trust.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust Kyler Murray is the issue with that. I do trust Kirk Cousins. If I trust Kevin O'Connell and I trust Kirk Cousins, do I trust Kyler Murray? Do I not bring in a rookie from this amazing QB draft class and sitting behind Kirk? But I don't know. It's kind of redundant. The Jets is where my mind immediately went to with Kyler. Because is he not back like halfway through this season? Yeah, but is Kyler not back halfway through this season?
But you're not going to take on that contract and give up something with Rodgers coming back next year. Is just my argument.
Yeah, that's fair. But I don't think there's going to be that much of a market for him. Undoubtedly, Cowboys fans would happily give up 3 first-round picks.
You think a second-round pick gets him?
Maybe even a third, to be honest. Just with the contract.
Third, and the Arizona already paid out the majority of that fucking bonus or the signing bonus on that contract. Kyler's not a bad guy to bring in and see what he can do for a third. And then
Yeah.
I have to think you're a competitor. Do you not hear what's going on, and do you not want to come back and change the narrative about yourself?
Definitely. I think the Falcons, we were just talking about Atlanta. Does Kyler Murray not make that offense very exciting?
He makes way more sense than Justin Fields.
Oh, yeah. People saying Justin Fields to the Falcons.
Justin
That's
Fields
not
barely has 60% completion rate over 3 years. He won a game with 54% completion rating and a 46 QBR. So this is my problem is they're like, he's had 2 great games. Like, no, he had 2 games with good yardage, but his completion percentage still shit. His QBR still shit. His passer rating still shit. And he doesn't throw anybody open. If they're not wide open, he can't throw it to them, and he still misses some people who are open.
Definitely. I think Kyler Murray definitely makes the Falcons better. He probably makes the Bears better. Like, he makes them definitely exciting. Like
Bijan
Robinson,
Kyler Murray,
Taylor Algier, Cordero Patterson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts.
Just, I don't know.
That would be fun. That's what I would like to see.
It would make the Falcons must watch.
If you're the Falcons, you happily give up a second-round pick for Kyler Murray. There, right? But I think with the contract and the way that the contract is, a third might be enough.
And then you can always bring Kyler in and restructure that contract. As long as he's getting the same amount of money, he's not going to give a fuck about how the payout is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you're the Cardinals, you basically set up the if he was to go to the Falcons, the way I would set up the contract is basically you pay most of it right now, while you've got Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Bijan Robinson on rookie deals. You pay most of it right now, and then you pay everybody else as soon as possible. So you get most of the money out the way in the first 2 years, and then that third year is where Bijan is up. So you pay Bijan Robinson on that third year. The years before, you've already given Drake London and Kyle Pitts their contracts the year before. And then once their contracts become huge, Kyler Murray contract kind of goes through the floor, and then there's your offense paid for throughout the thing. And that's like a totally legitimate way to do it, and the Falcons become ridiculously exciting. And the Cardinals draft. The Cardinals want to hope that they continue to lose, but play well in losing, so they can get Caleb Williams. I'm not sure whether you can say the Bengals are back here.
Everybody's got to stop saying it. Caleb already came out and said he'll only play for one of 5 teams.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Oh, you fine then. Bo Nix or whoever.
Right, but everybody's like, tank for Caleb. That's not a thing anymore. These quarterbacks are to go like, look, if I've got this much leverage, I'm not going to a shit team. They're pulling the Elway, the Eli. And there's a lot of people who are really mad about this. And me and you have talked about this. Like,
I don't mind.
You got drafted. Everybody else gets to pick where the fuck they want to work, which I like the draft because it makes parity and it makes it more exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't blame a player for knowing his worth and going, I'm not playing for you. You fucking suck. I don't want to play there. Or I can't blame somebody if they're like, I don't want to live in Green Bay or Buffalo. If you're 22 years old, there's nothing to do in Buffalo or Green Bay. I live in Green Bay. I've been to Buffalo. There's nothing to do. And it's cold.
Yeah. His eligibility, like, it's not that he's saying he's never going to get drafted and go play for and not going to go play. It's just with the way that NIL works, which is good because college players bring in so much money to the college scheme. They should be getting paid. With the way that NIL works, he just says, like, look, I don't mind foregoing one more year of being a pro in order to continue here at USC. And where obviously in USC he gets to live in fucking California. He'll earn $7 million in NIL money. Why wouldn't he forego that just to make sure he goes to a team that he wants to? At the moment, it looks like he could be going to the New York Giants, which is one of his teams anyway. So
right,
that's where
and another
we are with that.
Thing is that and another thing is everybody's like, well, then the next year he's just stuck doing that, going to wherever he wants him. And it's really not the case because what people don't realize is if you decide that you're going to sit out a year, you can re-enter the draft. So like if Green Bay drafts somebody and they don't want to play for Green Bay, they just have to sit out the year, not sign that contract, and they can re-enter the draft. Is any team going to risk the first overall pick on a guy who says, if you draft me, I'm not playing? He might be lying, he might be bluffing, or he might be telling the truth, but are you going to risk it, or are you going to pick somebody else or trade that pick to a team he wants to go to? Because no team's going to want to look bad and risk losing the value of a first overall pick for a guy who's threatening not to play for you.
Yeah, also, if you are one of those teams that is named on the list, how much are you willing to give up to go to the top of the draft? Because the Cowboys are on the list. Are the Cowboys willing to give up 2, 3? Yeah. Are you willing to give up 2, 3 first-round picks? For the Vikings, it might not be that far to jump, the way it's looking.
And even if it was, I don't give a fuck if the Vikings always drafted 24, it seems like, right? 22 and 24. Even if you had to give up 3 picks and some other shit to get up there, you go do it. You just go do it. The only thing that scares me is the Bears are going to end up with the number 1 pick, and there's no way they're going to trade it to the Vikings.
Yeah. Well, the Giants can end up with the first overall pick as well.
But he played for the Giants. He said he played for the Giants.
Yeah,
I think that's the New York market, though. I think it's the market.
I agree.
More than the team.
And the city, as well. Also, the Giants have something there. They just have no offensive line. So it's like you get Caleb Williams, you fix you pay a shit ton of money to fix the offensive line, but obviously the Giants have already spent a load of money trying to fix the offensive line.
Every team has, though. Like every team with a bad offensive line is trying to fix it, and every one of those fan bases act like they're not trying to fix it or something. And it's like offensive linemen don't grow on trees. That's a hard position because colleges play such a different game.
Yeah, they need to learn, need to find a way to. That's where a developmental league for the NFL, where the NFL teams are invested in the developmental league. That's how you fix the offensive line problem, by the way.
The NFL just gave The Rock a ton of money.
Yeah.
For the XFL.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you do, isn't it? You draft young offensive linemen and you put them in the XFL and say, right, the Dallas XFL team, we want you to play this style of ball and we don't care if you lose. Just play this style of ball because we're trying to get offensive linemen who can work for us. And you do that. Or if you're one of the New York XFL teams and so on and so forth, and you just become a developmental team for your sister NFL club, and your sister NFL club pays for loads of stuff for you. They basically bankroll stuff for you, and they do it that way. And it makes it a developmental league. And it doesn't go against, because you're drafting the players still, and you're putting them, instead of putting them in a practice squad, you put them in or instead of sitting them on the bench for 3 years and then they just walk to the XFL anyway afterwards, you put them in the XFL when they're young and develop them early on.
All right. Well, since we're already pushing an hour, we'll get through this Jets Broncos pretty quick. But Breece Hall 177.
Exactly what we said needed to happen.
22 for 177. Breece Hall is a fucking maniac.
Yeah, exactly what we said needed to happen for the Jets to win this game. Get Breece Hall the ball and just let them go for it. This Broncos defense is a joke. And there's no reason for it to be a joke. I'm not sure what the reason for it to be a joke is, but they had... Yeah, I think people will blame Russell Wilson, but he had 10 minutes less time of possession than the Jets did.
I think they're still turning around a bad culture, and I think Sean Payton will do it, but they're still turning around a bad culture.
Yeah. People will come out and they'll blame Russell Wilson this week, but...
Okay. I got to say this going into the Chiefs versus the Vikings. Fumbling right at the beginning of the fucking game didn't help. Thanks, Oliver. Right away on a big play. Which gave up 7 points, so this could have been a completely different game. But let's go to that last 4th down play where they call a pass interference, which was a pass interference. They pick up the flag. The fucking asshole takes his helmet off. They don't flag him, which is a penalty. They tell him to put his helmet back on. And there's hands to the face on CJ Ham. What the fuck was that? Like, what the fuck was that? That's all I got to ask is what the fuck was that? And I'm so sick of the NFL or the Vikings fans going, the NFL's rigged. I don't think it's rigged. I don't think it has anything to do with being rigged. I think it is horrible officiating.
Yeah.
But you picked up the flag, which is maddening. If you didn't throw it, that's one thing. But you picked the fucking thing up.
So the wordage that we use in our football is to overturn, and in rugby as well. Actually, rugby is a much better example because video officiating is much better in rugby. But to overturn a call, you have to have irrefutable evidence to overturn the call on the field.
They didn't even overturn it, though. They just picked up the flag.
Pick it up. It's like, on a play this big, just go upstairs. Just go upstairs and watch the play, because everybody else who watches the play sees that it's a fucking penalty and you were right first time up. So go back on a play this big, go back and watch the play. Once you've thrown the flag.
The NFL makes themselves look bad because we already had the argument that they should never have thrown that flag on Sauce on that win against the Jets. And now you pick up a fucking flag that goes against the Kansas City to help them win a game, which that would have put the Vikings on like the 3-yard line with like 30 seconds left or like whatever it was. It was low. I was so mad. I don't even remember exactly how much time was left, but that would put them down there at 1st and goal. Now, maybe they score, maybe they don't, but holy fuck.
Yeah, there's like 45 seconds left. Would have put you on the 1 because it happened in the end zone.
I think it happened right before the end zone, but either way, they were close.
Okay, well, it was finished in the end zone. It continued into the end zone.
It's just what the fuck was that? Like, how the fuck does that get picked up? And it's even more disappointing because I actually jumped up out of my fucking seat like, when I saw the flag. And then when they picked it up, I was like, that's the most fucking Viking shit this year that could have happened.
Yeah, there's... You think Roger Goodall's just up there just like, you better pick that fucking flag up? I don't think so. It's not rigged. It's just poor officiating. And it's a culture of the NFL to have poor officiating. Like, there is... when the referees aren't full-time, and like, I know they get paid like $200K or whatever, but if you made them full-time, you could run these courses all the way through the year and just make them go officiate the XFL, make them go officiate everything. So we're getting better and better calls, and the only time that they're refereeing isn't in big NFL games. That was mad to me. Also, why are all head NFL guys so old? Like referees? Like, quite a physical thing. You need your eyes to be like on the fucking thing. It's like not this idea that the more games that you referee, like the older you are, doesn't necessarily mean that you're good at things, is a thing that I always have a problem with, you know? But why that call doesn't go upstairs to get reviewed, I don't know. And I never understand the whole idea of there's certain things which can be reviewed upstairs. There's certain things that can't be reviewed. It's like, let's either do it or don't, you know? Like, do it or don't do it. Like, we've got, like, I've never seen so many camera angles than in a fucking NFL stadium. You know what I mean? There's more cameras in an NFL stadium than in China's CCTV systems.
3 penalties on the same play, and they picked the fucking flag up. That's oh my gosh.
And if you just watch them, like if you went upstairs and you watched the penalty, just leave the flag on the field, take your time and watch the play, and you can decide from there. And if they still decided that there wasn't a penalty, they'd be wrong, but okay, at least they've done the right. It's like what we talk about at draft time. Like, if you do all the right process, if you do the right process and you come to the wrong decision, I'm not going to be mad. But if you do the wrong process and come to the wrong decision, that's annoying. It's so ridiculous. And it's the wrong process.
That's the only bitch I got about that game is that Oliver fumbled. And then I want to fucking really slap the shit out of some refs right now.
How do you think the Vikings played in that game? as a whole.
They played
Defensively, they look solid.
They played almost the whole fourth quarter without Justin Jefferson and came back.
Yeah.
I think they played well. And when they needed to stop Kansas City, our defense stepped up. I thought they looked good except for the fucking fumble. And then it just that whole thing pissed me off. But it does prove that the Chiefs are very beatable this year. We've seen it a couple times already in games they've won, that they are very, very beatable.
Yeah, to be 4-1 and still look that beatable at points and still be called the best team in the AFC. I think the Dolphins might be the most, like, despite that, obviously that game against the Bills where the Bills played the best of the Buffalo Bills.
Well,
I think the Dolphins look more thoroughbred than they do. Yeah,
they could be 3-3 if that Jets game goes the other way and the Vikings game goes the other way.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the Bills are probably a better team. Not the Bills, sorry. The Dolphins are probably a better team, but the difference is Kansas City have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes as a head coach, and they're finding the way to win whilst playing badly, which is what champions do.
Yes, that is true. That is absolutely true. I like the Vikings defense was getting after Patrick Mahomes. They were in his fucking face all day. They were playing good. I see good things with the Vikings. I like a lot of the young players we have, but that game just had me ready to pull my fucking hair out. But Maddie, a game that you must be very upset about because that was an ass whipping of epic proportion. The Cowboys versus the 49ers. How you feeling about that? How you feeling about Dak? I could pile on Dak, but I'll let you go.
I think just the 49ers are just an awesome collection of players. That just their defense is unbelievable, and their offense is. I think their offensive line is the thing that impressed me the most. The offensive line was excellent. It was like when we were playing against the Eagles, and you just can't get to the quarterback because the offensive line is just so stout.
And Christian McCaffrey didn't even go off because combined he only had like 78 yards.
Yeah, like the Cowboys did an actually half decent job of stopping the run. To be fair, it's just to stop the run. We're probably with Trayvon Diggs out. We are probably a cornerback short now, like in our defense as well. Like Bland is doing an excellent job, but after that, we're probably a quarterback short. Yeah, but then moving on to the offense, we have no offense past the 10, 15 yard line, it feels like, which means that any decent defense is just sitting on any short route that we have. And we're not getting anywhere. And Dak,
3 picks.
The first pick is a horrible throw, like an ugly throw where he's gone, all right, fuck this, gone down to, I don't even know who it was. I think it was Michael Gallup down there. It was Brandon Cooks down there as the deep threat with, he's being covered by 2 and he overthrows him by a mile straight into that arms of the safety. The second one is a deflection, but a deflection where the cornerback, it's a poor read. The cornerback is sitting on the route again because we have nothing deep. And then again, the third is their defense is sitting on the route waiting to intercept that ball because we have nothing deep. Like the defense is stagnant, which isn't on Dak, but Dak's poor reads is on Dak. And when all the interceptions happen when the game's kind of already gone and we're chasing the game, we're down. I think the first interception happens when we're down 21-10. So not necessarily the game being gone yet, but it's getting that way. So they're trying to make big plays happen. But Mike McCarthy's offense is stale and Dak isn't good enough to make it work.
Think about this. Both quarterbacks threw the ball 24 times.
Yeah.
Dak throws 14-24, 153, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Brock Purdy, 17-24, 255, 4 tutties.
Yeah. Oh my God. Have you seen the time of possession stats?
No, but I was hearing it last night. It was ridiculous, right? Like they were mentioning.
37 minutes for the 49ers, 23 minutes for the Cowboys.
That's because you guys couldn't pick up first downs. No first downs. Like it was like crazy.
Yeah, we had 8 first downs in the entire game. And a symptom of this, right? A symptom of the entire game can be found in the microcosm of this play, by the way, where we were down 21-7. We were driving the ball down the field. We were within there. We were 30 yards away from their end zone, and we decided to run the ball on 3rd and 4 against this defensive front. And obviously, we don't make it. I think Pollard gets 2 yards. So we run it on 3rd and 4, and because we don't trust Dak, and we have no, like, our short passing game should be elite. When you have guys like CD Lamb who can break catches after the ball, the short passing game should work, but we have no downfield threat. Like, Turpin is a downfield threat, but the way that the scheme works, it's dump off, dump off, dump off, instead of what the 49ers have going on, where they have 2 guys they can dump it off to, a guy sprinting down the field and 2 crosses across the intermediate routes as well, and Brock Purdy picking them out when they're open, which Dak doesn't do. So it's a shit show. The offense so far this year has been a shit show. And I would say in the red zone, they're terrible, but we didn't even fucking make it to the red zone this time. We didn't even have a single play in the red zone this game, because the touchdown comes on a Turpin deep ball. So, yeah, not good. Not good. Mike McCarthy taking over. So, I've given Mike McCarthy a lot of hate, but he's turned around a culture at the Cowboys where this is the first time we've gone to the playoffs back-to-back seasons since before Jason Garrett, I think.
Wait, it's week 5 and you're already saying we went to the playoffs back to back.
No. Oh. Like last.
Oh, last year. 2 years.
Okay. Last year was the first time we went to back-to-back playoffs.
All right, I got you.
For the first time since before or early Jason Garrett.
I was going to say, I think you guys make the playoffs this year too, but you might want to slow your roll before you jinx yourself.
So like, and we've gone back-to-back over 10-win seasons. Like, Mike McCarthy has clearly turned around the culture. There was a lot of stuff to fix in terms of culture and all of that. But as I said, when we were sat in the postseason and it was announced that Kellen Moore was leaving and Mike McCarthy was taking over play calls, I don't necessarily disagree with Kellen Moore leaving. Time for a different offense. That's fine. I just don't think it was Mike McCarthy's offense, and I don't think Mike McCarthy taking the play calls was a good idea. And it's kind of proving to be that way. And it might be time to give somebody the offensive play calling sheet and see how that works out. Like, don't change the offense, but just give somebody the offensive play calling sheet and see what happens. And our defenses just can't play the 49ers.
The reason I'm good with Mike McCarthy calling plays is because if you're going to get fired on your own terms. Every NFL quarter or coach gets fired. Just make sure you go out on your own.
Yeah. The 49ers are an absolute juggernaut, and our defense can't seem to play on grass. But also on top of that, you can't give the 49ers short fields. The time of possession is so out of whack that I think we're starting to come to a symptom of the Cowboys defense here. Whereas if you can win the time of possession game and you can keep them on the field, they lose that pass rush, because we're not like the 49ers pass rush and the Eagles pass rush is bully up front. All of ours is stunting, and they need their rest to come back and be able to play. So the defense is excellent as long as the offense is able to not turn the ball over and give them time off the field. So there's a few problems with the Cowboys, and the 49ers are the best team. If the 49ers don't win the Super Bowl this year, what will have happened? Brock Purdy gets injured again, in which case your best availability is your best ability and stuff like that.
Is availability, yeah.
Yeah.
You never know, though. Like, this is the NFL. It ain't a 7-game series. So one bad game can knock you out of the playoffs or a Super Bowl or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's what makes the NFL so exciting.
The 49ers are a team, man. Like, I'm almost harrowed. I'm almost in trauma from watching the 49ers play against the Cowboys. 42-10 is an ass whooping.
And then a quick thing before we get out of here too. As of right now, through 5 weeks, the Miami Dolphins have a better pace than the Greatest Show on Turf.
I think the Miami Dolphins are an excellent football team, and Mike McDaniels is probably the best coach in the NFL right now.
Well, I get beat up for this. I don't know which one. I always forget which one's which, but one of them's McDaniels and one of them's McDaniel, and I always screw them up, and I get beat up sometimes for that.
Is McDaniel? Oh, right. Okay. Well, I better check that now.
It's either Josh McDaniels and Mike McDaniel, or vice versa. But one is plural and one's not, I guess you would say, almost. But
yeah.
But before we get out of here, we both picked the Packers. Anything you're looking for tonight in that Packer Vegas game?
I'm looking for Jordan Love to put together a whole game rather than a quarter or two, and see if that's something that he's able to do. I'm also looking at the Raiders kind of showing any sign of life.
I feel like they got to ride Josh Jacobs for any chance to win this game.
Yeah, I feel like they have it. It's not like they don't have a chance to win this game, like, because the Packers aren't showing many signs of life either. But Josh Jacobs gives them the best ability to do so. They need to start scheming Devontae Adams open, and Devontae Adams shouldn't be a difficult guy to scheme open, but they seem to struggle to. They seem to be struggling to do that. The Raiders for me aren't showing. They've just given me no reason to trust them so far this year in any way, shape, or form. They're getting decent defensive play so far. They held the Chargers to 24. They held the Steelers to 23. The Bills 38. They held the Broncos to 17. Obviously, outside of the Chargers, none of them are amazing offenses. But in those games, the offense has only scored 17 points, 23 points, 10 points against the Bills, and 17 points against the Chargers. So we need to see some offensive life from the Raiders and see what they are.
So Jimmy cleared percussion protocol, but nobody's saying if he's going to start for sure, but he's expected to play.
Who's their backup quarterback right now?
I don't even fucking remember, to be honest with you.
Stiddy? Is it still Stiddy?
No, Stiddy, I think, went to Denver.
He is in Denver.
Oh, they drafted that kid. It's a rookie. He played last year. Yeah, I forget his name.
Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah,
he looked good. Aiden O'Connell, 24. Okay. He looks all right. 24-39. Do you know what? If I'm the Raiders, I'm tempted to play him.
Like, well, there's been some big articles this week. Does Brock Purdy's success hurt Jimmy G's legacy in San Francisco? And I say yes.
Yeah, of course. Like, we were at the point where we're like, well, Jimmy G got them to the Super Bowl, but also it looks like Brock Purdy would have made that throw to win them the Super Bowl. So,
right.
Brock, I just want to say again, didn't get to say it in the Cowboys game. Brock Purdy was fucking amazing. Clearly a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
Let's just let's forget about this week. Let's both move on to next week. And
do you know what? I don't even mind the Cowboys getting walked. It's that I got beat so heavily in fantasy. It's just where it's at.
I got walked in fantasy too. And
my bench would have won me the game.
Bro, I got walked with fucking Pickens having 27 and more than 27 points, and I still got beat bad.
Yeah, I had nothing. I had an excellent bench performance, but there's no points for having bench performances because I knew I shouldn't have. I put in Zach Wilson over Brock Purdy, everybody, because I'm a fucking idiot.
Well. But like that Cowboys defense, you expected to do more. And
again, process made sense. So I had 26 points for Brock Purdy on the bench. I had 17 points from Tyron Spears on the bench, 10 points from Michael Thomas, 12 points from Alexander Mattison, and that goes with only getting 5 points from James Cook, only getting 7 points from Nico Collins, and again 8 points from Tony Pollard, 7 points from Kyron Williams. Like, I had a week.
I got 27.6 from Pickens, 19.5 from Schultz. My kicker got me 12 points, and Romeo Dobbs still has to play, but I am losing right now 125 to 88.
Yeah, that's not great. I had Adam Thielen go for 28 points.
He's still got Jacoby Myers and Josh Jacobs to play tonight.
Yeah, I've still got Devontae Adams and the Green Bay defense to go tonight, and I'm currently getting beat 119 to 96.
So I'm playing Payne Gusto. He has Cousins got him almost 20 points. Diggs got him 25. Goddard got him 26.
Yeah, I'm playing Vernon Russell. So basically, every single player he has had a touchdown, but not just a touchdown, like outside of Kyle Pitts, a big play touchdown. So Tua Tagovailoa gets 21 points. Mostert gets 15 points. Joe McKinnon didn't do anything. Tyreek Hill gets 34 points, but only he was on 10, and then his touchdown is a 50-yard touchdown from Tua Tagovailoa. So that just ruined me there.
Yeah. My bench
Kyle Pitts got 15. Yeah,
my bench could not have saved me this week. So I'm going to be 3-2 going into next week, or 2-3. But I did just load up on 2 guys that can really help my team, so that's nice.
My bench would have put me 30 points ahead going into tonight's game, where he has Devontae Adams in the Green Bay defense. So that could have been quite close.
Would his bench have helped him at all, though?
No, all of his best players are on the field. Maybe DJ Chark.
Who are you playing?
No. Vernon Russell. So he gets 35 points from Tyreek Hill. Basically, his team is, if Miami plays well, he's going to win every fantasy game this year, because it's Tua Tagovailoa, Raheem Mostert, and Tyreek Hill.
All right. Well, I'm going to forget about this week and go smack the shit out the Bears next week and live with a good life for a week at least.
I think the Cowboys have got somebody actually decent this week. So we'll see who the Cowboys got. I think it's the Chargers.
Is that?
Yeah. Chargers. Again, we're playing so many of those late night games, which for me is at 7:15 in the morning, which is actually a good time. It's just unfortunate that I've got to teach.
Maddie's calling in sick next Monday.
All
right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. We'll get out of here. You go get ready for tonight's game. Thanks for the support you guys give us. And I'm going to put this up over there. So if you're on Instagram, go over and hit that subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah. Also, subscribe on YouTube. Yeah. And on Rumble, if Rumble's your thing of choice.
Rumble, Instagram, YouTube. That's really where we're rolling right now. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.